You're watching 16 News Now Digital Plus's 16 Sports Extra, brought to you by Gates Automotive.
Welcome back into 16 Sports Extra right now. I'm 16 Sports Coordinator Jackson Neill. That's South Bend Tribune's Austin Hough. Why are you smiling at that? And that's 16 Sports reporter Sabrina Hoover.
You're just so happy to be here.
Am I not allowed to smile?
You should be smiling. It's like, it's a video podcast.
We're a month into the high school football season, man. There's a reason to celebrate. We're basically a third of the way there. It'll be officially a third of the way there after this week if you include all of the postseason. So
that really is crazy. I was looking at the regular season and October 18th. That is...
Yeah, it's 5 weeks away.
Yeah, I was like, that is the last week of regular season games. It feels like it just started, and I'm already planning towards playoffs.
We're just having so much fun. That's all.
Such a great time.
I can't get the smile off my face.
I know.
All right, so we're going to be talking and recapping last week, and then also previewing this upcoming week. So, guys, I guess, let's look back at this past Friday night. And Austin, where do you want to start?
I kind of want to start with a overarching point, if I can. The whole, I think this week we learned, and I wrote about this kind of in our power rankings at the Tribune, southbendtribune.com, cheap plug. It feels like the top 4 teams in this area kind of solidified themselves and made that break between we're at this level and then everyone else is kind of below us, and that is Concord, Mishawaka, Penn, Elkhart. Those all 4, they all won by 15 plus points. Concord beat a solid Northridge team. Mishawaka beat a solid Northwood team. Elkhart took care of a kind of a feisty Riley team, a little feisty for them. And then Penn took care of business with Washington. But it feels like those 4 are definitively the top 4. You can debate the order, but if you go by head to head, right? Concord beat Mishawaka. Mishawaka beat Penn. Elkhart lost to Concord. So Concord, I guess, is number 1, but any one of those 4 in any order at this point feels like they're the top 4. And then it kind of feels like teams 5 through 15, anyone could beat anyone in that group. Yeah. I mean, I think we saw that with Marion 27-0 over St. Joe, LaVille beating Bremen at the game I was at, 13-12. I think Riley in New Prairie and teams like that are kind of all just Glenn, Jimtown. Jimtown and Glenn was an 8-point game, right? It just feels like those teams, Fairfield beats Culver Academy, it feels like 5 through 15, anyone could beat anybody. The top 4, and then that middle is just, it gives me a headache trying to put the power rankings together because I just I don't know what order you're supposed to put these in really at this point. So
feels like any given Friday night, anyone can be in that area.
This felt like the Friday where, to me at least, if the picture became a lot clearer of what the lines are between the teams, I guess.
Of course. And then Sabrina, I mean, let's go back to that Marion St. Joe game because I know you were there for the whole thing, the Holy War. What was your thoughts about that?
Well, it was my first experience with the Holy War.
Did you feel closer to Holy, after the war?
Well, it was after the war. It was really cool to see all the student sections. Okay, we're gonna pop that video up. That was awesome. That kid has a speaker in the student section. He was vibing all night. I was loving it. But no, man, I mean, you see it right there. Defensively, Marion came to play, and offensively, I mean, a shutout like that, that's crazy. Especially, South Bend, St. Joe was coming off that win last week, so that was almost like a big statement for Marion. I think Marion got their first one of the season last week as well. So just to see this team kind of put things together on both sides of the ball was very enjoying to watch. And, talking to head coach Michael Davidson earlier on in the game, he's excited for the community. He talked about this being like a night where, it kind of brings the teams closer, or not even the team, just the community closer. Even not that they're not close whatsoever, but it's a night for everyone to just experience a game like this and a rivalry like this. And so, he was very pleased with them, but he's a head coach. So after the game, he was like, we still got things to work on and not pleased. But no, it was a good game to watch.
Sorry, that was the first time seeing that clip of that interception. Where was he throwing the ball to?
I'm not sure about that one. Do we want to hear from Michael Davidson from after the game?
I think we should hear from Michael Davidson from after the game.
Let's do it.
Let's do that right now.
Defense came to play. Heck of a job. I don't know all the stats, or I don't remember them crossing the 50 other than when we gave it away or gave up bad field position. Our defense played lights out all night long. Credit to them. This week brings everybody a little bit closer together. Not that we're not a close school, but it's something different for this week, and the students came, the parents came. I don't know. I saw a bunch of guys I played with in '99. Love seeing those guys, and it's a credit to our fans and our school.
And there's the camera where I'm trying to ask
Yeah, there you go.
It's just like, sorry, guys.
Did you have any thoughts on the Marion St. Joe game, Jackson?
Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah.
Feel free to shoot, because I have a thought too, but I wanted you to go first.
Yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
think we
so
mentioned.
nice.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think Sabrina, you mentioned Marion scoring 27 points. That was my big takeaway. I was at that St. Joe New Prairie game the week before with you, Austin. Not much. You could not do much against that South Bend St. Joe defense
yeah.
in that game. We saw them really just kind of shut down New Prairie, a team that exploded for 48 points last Friday night.
Yep.
So we know that offense has that kind of talent, and they were able to just bottle them up. So for Marion to put up 27, that to me was my biggest thing when I saw that was it's not easy to score 27 against South Bend St. Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps when 7 of them come on the defensive side. Of course, that pick 6, it really just seemed like it changed the game.
Should we play that our play of the night?
That was the play of the night?
It
That was a play. Let's
we
take a
already
look
saw
at,
it once. Let's see it
I mean,
again.
we gotta see it
See it
again,
again.
though. We gotta see it
Play of
again.
the night.
Look at that.
Reads the quarterback
Big man with a
perfectly.
football.
That's the dream, isn't
Mike
it?
Golick
It's the
Jr.
dream.
somewhere is smiling.
But it's funny because at the end, I don't know if we'll get to it, but he's taking a big breath because he's like, oh my gosh, this is.
Dude, when I run 15 yards, I'm out of breath. So
Yeah, that was-
this guy ran 75. He's a
I
big
think you'll
dude.
see it in this end of this clip. But no, his teammates were definitely celebrating with him. They knew it all along. They're like, to the house.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty cool.
It was fun.
So
So I think with Marion, I think we were, I don't want to say distracted by the 0-2 start, but I think starting 0-2 throws off the scent a little bit of like maybe they're good, better than they are. And again, like they were up 17-7 at the half on Mishawaka. They were back and forth with Culver Academy the entire game. They led late and gave up a late touchdown. Like they could easily be sitting here 4-0 and we're talking about them as a 3A contender and like all these things. Like I think that they were better than their record said they were in those after those first 2 games. They got on track against Adams, and then that gave them enough of that confidence to really take it to St. Joe like how they did. I think it's a season turning type of win in that regard, where they can now have the confidence. Now we'll talk about a little bit what's upcoming for them this week later, but I think this was a big week for Marion to be like, okay, like we are good. Yes, the results from the first 2 weeks were not what we wanted, but if you play your rival in Mishawaka close for 3 quarters, and then Culver Academy, who is proven to be a solid team this year, back and forth, like, and that Culver game was a weird game. It was moved to Saturday morning, so Marion had to make that drive down on Friday night, go all the way back home, come all the way back Saturday. Like, it's a weird game. Like, I think Marion will be okay.
Yeah.
Marion's in a good spot, I think, after these 4 weeks.
That's a season-defining win to beat a rival like that.
Yeah,
But,
and they shut them out too, 27-0.
Oh, yeah.
It's impressive. So
and speaking of their other rival, Mishawaka, I think
man.
I was gonna say that was my second game I had kind of written down as a big storyline coming out of last Friday night. They were able to beat Northwood 35-19. Huge win for the Cavemen right there.
yeah, and I think it was and we talked about it a little bit last week. If you put Truth Serum and Nate Andrews, they probably would hope that Mishawaka would have beaten Concord, so they would have been a little too confident. I think Mishawaka was in the great spot for a bounce back, right, like that. And Jackson Snyder, we talked a lot about his defensive prowess, but he had 105 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns to complement his brother Landon, the quarterback, in the backfield. So give a lot of credit to Mishawaka. Jackson Snyder really specifically kind of innovating, his game. And kudos to Dominic
I was
DeFreitas
gonna
in
say,
this
can
video.
we talk about that kick? for a
47-yard
second?
extra point.
So I was there.
We were there last year in semi-state.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was there when that happened, and it was like basically it was a penalty after the touchdown, and then it was I think
for the extra point here, yeah.
Yeah, and then but there was after the touchdown, after his quarterback Michael Jarrett scored a touchdown, it was about it was a excessive celebration or something. He spiked the ball down. Then it was 2 I think false starts on the extra point try. Back to 47, just crazy.
But you and I were there last winter, or when it felt like winter at least, mid-November in the semi-state game when he made that 55-yard field goal.
And that was cold.
And it was 40 degrees.
That ball was hard.
And it would have been good from 60 at least. It was
Yeah.
a 55-yard field goal this DeFreitas kid made last year in the semi-state was incredible.
Such an incredible kick by him. He's has to
There's
be
a reason why
special.
he's a really highly touted kicking recruit.
Yeah.
Maybe Notre Dame should give him a call.
Oh, definitely.
But
But
you did mention the brothers, Landon Snyder and Jackson.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing. Jackson on offense, at least, I think was the biggest takeaway from me from this game.
Yeah, I did a story with them. I think that was week 1. And it was kind of cool because Jackson's the older brother, so him kind of playing on different sides of the ball, obviously with this brother, but you can tell that he hypes up Landon. I think in that week 1. That was the game that they came back from, and in the second half, and so he was like, you're not going to score a home run every single play. You got to just take strides, and you're a new quarterback and whatnot. So you can tell they balance each other out and actually calm each other on the field. So it's a good dynamic. So.
And then not that whole point about not hitting a home run every play. I mean, you can see it when Mishawaka plays. It is watching those. My first time actually getting a chance to see them in person so far this season. It's just deflating. Northwood scores that touchdown right before half with a crazy extra point. They have some momentum. Yep. Second half comes out. Mishawaka just has the ball just down the throat. 4th and 1, convert, down the throat. It was just consistent.
3 yards in a cloud of dust, baby. Or
right down the center.
Cloud of pellets.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right down their center of their defense. Yeah. It's deflating for a team like Northwood who was hanging in there, was only down a score at halftime. How are you, only down to 2 points actually after halftime. How are you supposed to then keep that momentum going when a team like that can not only consistently convert first downs, but do it in such a long way?
Right.
It's really tough to beat.
When Mishawaka and Warsaw put the clamps on you, basically, for lack of a better term, that is. Yeah, that is soul crushing. It's soul. The only time, or not the only time, but Northwood a couple years ago, the game I covered against Mishawaka tried doing that to them, but Northwood made turnovers late in those long drives. That's the only way you can really get them is you have to force a turnover at some point and get the ball back. Otherwise, they're going to run that offense for 7 minutes, 9 minutes.
There's a quarter.
The whole quarter's gone. It's by the way, they went 14 plays, 60 yards, 8 minutes.
9 minutes, and you get the ball back with no time left to do anything.
Oh, good luck, by the way. And you're probably going to throw the ball now because you're trailing.
And then if you go 3 and out, then your defense is back on the field against this team that just it is so tough to beat. I want to go to another game too. Another one we had this last weekend. Concord beating Northridge 24-17.
34.
34.
Sorry, the 34. We had a typo on our website, I noticed.
I was going to say, because I was I don't remember this one being as
30,
close.
It was 30. Yeah, it was 34.
Wait. Because
my
apologies on behalf of the South Bend Tribune. We typed that score
Everyone
wrong.
makes mistakes. It's
okay.
Of course, yeah.
At least we got the right team.
Yes.
Right,
But yeah,
34-17.
34-17.
Because
it was 34-3 at in the fourth quarter, and
because I knew that especially after going into halftime, they were up. They were kind of controlling that game.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned it earlier. Concord just showing that
they're in that group. They're in that group now.
They are the team.
They're so fun to watch. It's honestly I don't know, that was against Elkhart, the game that I went to. It was just so fun to watch them against just a defensive line like Elkhart and going up against them. And again, talked about them being the heartbreakers so far with the 1-point victories. I think you even said they could have been
they could be 2-2.
2-2.
Those Elkhart and Mishawaka games go either way. You know.
And so. It's just fun. It's really fun to watch them put those pieces together, and at the right time too. We've talked a lot about marrying and finding their strides and all that, but a lot of teams like Concord that's already been undefeated, continuing to hit the stride. It's really cool to watch.
They have some really dynamic athletes, of course. We've talked about them a lot, but Jerron Thomas and Bo Brunner get the headlines, but Sharice Brevard is he's really good.
You watch his highlights. A couple of these touchdowns were from him. It's that was the guy that really stuck out to me from this game was that. Not only do they have those, the top two, but there's also other guys in addition to them. It's so hard to stop that offense.
Yeah, it's impressive when they that first week was, no one I think looks good week 1.
Oh, yeah.
Offensively, the only exception was Penn, and that was because maybe neither team had a great defense. So they're just whatever, track meet.
Just keep going down the field.
Yeah, and so I think Concord has found their stride on offense. You've seen it. They put up 49 against Jimtown. They put up 35 on Mishawaka. They put up 34 on Northridge. That's really good production, and that's what you expect. And against good teams. And so I know we'll talk about their next week coming up here in a little bit, but it doesn't get any easier for Concord. So,
and then I want to go to a game now that you were at.
Yeah,
you're at LaVille versus Bremen.
Yeah,
came down to the wire.
The best part of it was done by 9 o'clock.
That's always helpful.
The offense left a lot to be desired in the third quarter specifically, but this is a weird game. So Bremen didn't have Tyrus Graverson, their all-around star player. He's wearing a knee brace on his right knee. Not sure what the extent of the injury is. I got mixed feelings.
I wanted to ask about that if you
Yeah.
heard anything.
You got mixed vibes from some people. Like he might try to play through it at some point, but he just wasn't ready to go. He wasn't going to play this week. I don't know. This was a weird game. Like I didn't come away like overly impressed by Laville. It was a nice win. Good kudos to them. I mean, look, we talked about it last week. Their season was kind of on the line going into this one, being 1-2. Jeff Kaiser, their coach, even told me afterwards, like, yeah, we talked about it all week. Like, we cannot be 1-3. We would rather be 2-2, 1-0 in the conference. Like, so it was nice poise. Bremen hits a big pass play late to go up 12-7. Bremen, Laville gets the ball right back. Marches 10 plays down the field, scores with 36 seconds left. So it was a dramatic finish. It might have been a slog to get there, but we got a fun finish out of it at least.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, exactly. As long as the final 5 minutes are entertaining. So it was, I mean, obviously without Graverson, Bremen's game, I mean, he's not just a receiver. He's a cornerback. He's a kicker. He does everything. Kick returns. I mean, and so without him, like, they're limited in a lot of what they can do. Laville struggled to run the ball a lot, and that was kind of their bread and butter the last however many years, is being able to run the ball. So that concerned me a little bit. But, I mean, it was a kind of a old school, in a sense, football game where the defense is kind of dominated and offense was optional at times, and but we got a fun finish. So it's now the second 13-12 game I've covered this year.
That is
with Elkhart and Concord.
Yeah, it's funny that's a score. I don't think I've seen many 13-12 games in my life.
In the 5 football games I've covered this year, including the Notre Dame Northern Illinois
He had
game.
things to say about that last week.
I've seen 6 passing touchdowns in 5 games.
Wow.
And
that's quite the stat.
That is quite the stat.
And the team with the most passing touchdowns out of all of them is Mishawaka with 2.
That makes
Penn.
no sense. That makes
So,
no sense.
I have covered 13-12, 27-7, 7-0, 13-12. And 16-14 was Notre Dame Northern Illinois. So I have not seen a lot of points this year.
So remind me never to go to a game that you're covering, because I'm like, I like to see some offense.
You will not get any highlights to use.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
bad for us.
Yeah,
that's for our business.
The issue for Laville and Bremen both is that the others in the INSC have looked strong. Knox looked really good, beating Tippy Valley this week, and Jimtown, very similar to Marion, where they were 0-2, but they lost to 2 good teams, and they played hard against both of them. So it kind of threw us off the scent a little bit. They came back and beat Fairfield last week 35-0. They beat John Glenn this past Friday 22-14. Like, don't sleep on the Jimmies. Like, like they could be a factor
Jimmies.
in that INSC conference. Because I mean, personally, I didn't come away overly confident in Laville or Bremen after this game, and they're both decent teams, but I wasn't like, oh yes, Laville's going, on a run, like, or Bremen's gonna bounce back and be fine. Like, it just felt like they're both kind of similar teams, and they both might just finish 4-5 or 5-4 and like be okay. So the INSC feels like after the first week, just based on obviously the wins and losses, Jimtown and Knox are the 2 that are, I think, the leaders ahead of the pack in this conference. Obviously, I think a lot of things can change, but I came away impressed, almost more so with Jimtown, just seeing them win that game against Glenn. From the teams in that conference, at least.
Yeah, 22-14, Jimtown beats John Glenn. I mean, whenever we talk about Jimtown, you always got to mention it's a program with history. It's a program with kind of that prestige. And then Cody Vincent now taking over. He knows that history. He's been around some great football teams. I think he's hitting his stride in that first year.
I agree.
That's our favorite word.
Good point,
this
Jackson.
Podcast is stride.
Stride. I didn't even notice that.
No, we've all used it. It's funny.
It was a team that hit their stride last Friday night. Elkhart. They've been hitting their stride recently. I mean, this is a team that
they were hitting some speed bumps in the first half, I'll tell you that much. But
second?
I have a question for that, because how they started the season, but now where they are. I know we've only been this is going into week 5 now. So it's like, what's impressed you the most with this team?
I mean, their defense is insane. We talked about this all year, but I mean, they didn't give up any actual points.
Yeah, that's
the 2 points were a safety. They gave up to Riley.
How many safeties does Riley have this year? Because I think after that first game,
they had 4 in the first game.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had any against Penn. So
Okay,
they're at least at 5. They're at a minimum 5.
Gotcha.
We need to like look up and see if they're going to break some sort of record.
They-
That
I mean,
feels like a record.
4 in a game was like the Indiana single game record.
Yeah, but
so they're getting but to be at 5
Yeah,
through 3 games. They've only played 3 full games.
That's what I mean. It just feels like they might break. It feels like there's a record there. I don't know
There
how to
might
check.
be. There might be.
We gotta look into that.
If they get a couple against Washington this week, we'll have to really like dig into the archives.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For Elkhart, man, I'm not like quick thought about Riley actually. So Riley's played their 2 hardest teams back-to-back
Yes.
weeks. They gave a really good effort. They were game.
Yeah.
In the first
Yeah.
half in both games, but it comes down to a talent and a nutrition, that Elkhart and Penn just have over them, and that neither of these results were surprising to me in that regard. Like I thought Riley could play scrappy against feisty, right? As I said earlier,
Yep.
they're feisty against Elkhart and Penn. Like those results did not surprise me. Elkhart, their defense is unreal. They're only averaging 5 points a game against this season. The only teams better than them are Mississinewa and Warren Central, who have done 4 straight shutouts to start the year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Mississinewa and Warren Central are playing on they're on steroids right now.
Yeah,
on
they're
defense.
a little.
But Elkhart's right there. I mean, 5th best in the state, I think. Playing like a Washington, they shut out Washington, and Riley, who has some struggles on offense, helps their cause a little bit. But they only give up 13 to Concord, and we've seen Concord score
That was going to be my point.
35 plus points every game.
We just got done talking about Concord and how they have even more weapons than we realized. And looking back, even though they lost that game, only give up 13 to Concord. We're going to look back at that, I think, and be, wow, that's a huge performance.
Yeah, it was when they gave up 7 against Northridge, 0 against Washington, 2 against Riley. So they've given up 9 points in the last 3 weeks.
And, heading into that, I know we're about to maybe play Trayvon Curry's reaction after the game, but...
Happy belated birthday, Coach Curry.
Oh, happy belated birthday.
I think it was his birthday on Friday night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. But it's funny because
Great
it's
birthday
like...
gift.
Good. Yeah. It's funny because we talk about these head coaches, especially with Davidson, he said it after the game, but just talking about, a lot of the penalties, needing to fix those. But Trayvon, you can tell in this interview, even though it was a big performance for them, it's not like he's not satisfied is what I'm trying to say, which as a head coach, I mean, you shouldn't be, but it's funny to see that in an interview like that.
Let's take a listen.
I mean, at the end of the day, we did what we were supposed to do the second half, but there's too many penalties for us. We got to be more disciplined like that. So that's all on me. We're going to clean it up and get ready for a big opponent next week in New Perry. We got to clean that up. I'm going to clean it up. That's on me, and we'll do better moving forward. But we got a big opponent next week against New Perry, so clean it up and keep getting after it, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, he's on to the next.
That's such a head coach answer. Yeah, you're right. Because in that game, I mean, they kind of came out in the second half in that third quarter and that's when they really broke the game open. But a lot of penalties down the stretch.
Yeah.
And that's this thing for Elkhart is that, these past 2 weeks, 69 points, 35 points, they're putting up their offenses, hitting their stride. But you just got to cut down on those mistakes because you mentioned New Prairie's coming out.
Can't make mistakes against the better teams on your schedule.
Yeah.
Of course.
So that's kind of where Trayvon's coming from there in that regard. So
Yeah.
And then speaking of that, did you have something to say, Sabrina?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, that's a good coach for, the team as well. You don't want to stay on the high of, oh, man, this is such a big win for us. You want to say that, but also it's all right, got more work to do, so.
And you have a win like that, you should not be having a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
So, now, speaking of that, I guess, you kind of mentioned, talking about New Prairie coming up next for Elkhart. Austin.
Yeah.
This upcoming week, what game are you circling right now on your schedule?
Let me get my
magic.
we get a whiteboard back here so I can diagram.
We need to get that. There gotta be a program for the computer that we can do
draw.
something.
Yeah,
I'll talk to my engineers about that.
So within the NIC, there are 2 games that kind of stick out.
Okay.
Marion at Penn, and New Prairie at Elkhart. So we'll talk about the first game. So Marion obviously is riding a lot of confidence. They've won 2 in a row, big win over their rival. And we, like I talked about, I think they're better than the record probably indicates. They could at least have won the Culver game. It definitely should have probably won the Culver game. Should be 3-1. Penn kind of has been able to, jog a little bit the last couple weeks, right? Riley was a nice test, but not too much. Washington, they were nice against Washington and, kept it respectable. But, so this will be the first real test, it feels like, in 3 weeks since the Mishawaka game. So it's going to be intriguing to see, what Penn kind of does. I still, if you're the betting man, air quotes. Penn is probably still the favorite, obviously, but because to me, again, I think they're in that top 4 of the area, but Marion is, I think, going to be a lot more live in this game, maybe more game than people, give them credit. New Prairie and Elkhart. Interesting fun fact about New Prairie. I love the Cougars, for the record, before I say this.
Oh.
Their 3 wins this year are against teams that are combined 0-16 currently.
Oh.
So, LaPorte, Goshen, and South Bend Adams.
Okay.
So they have not yet beat a team with a win.
Gotcha.
On this season.
Gotcha.
So we're kind of back where we were at the start of this. After week 2, we're like, what is New Prairie? Because their loss was to St. Joe, 7-0, in a kind of a weird, goofy, grinded out game. So now you're getting to, you think the St. Joe defense was good. Now you play Elkhart's defense coming up this week. So that is an intriguing game for, I think, New Prairie. Again, I think if you're doing the betting lines, air quote, we're not doing gambling on here, but Elkhart would be the favorite.
Yeah.
They're at home. Should be a big game. It's Elkhart's first real test in 2 weeks as well. Probably really big, maybe 3 weeks since Concord, honestly. But excuse me. But that's an intriguing game. Can New Prairie, keep up with a team like Elkhart or someone with a win on the season so far? And then the big NLC game, Concord Warsaw at Concord. It's a huge NLC game. They're both 2-0. They're the only 2-0 teams left in the conference right now. So whoever wins this game obviously is in the driver's seat to win the conference. So that will be an intriguing game. It's at Concord. Can we just make it a 1-point game again? Both games at Jake Field this year have been 1 point. So
I think at this point with Concord, it's going to be down to the last couple minutes.
Keep that going.
Obviously, a lot gets made about the friendship between Bart Curtis, the Warsaw coach, and Keith Kinder at Mishawaka. I got to think Keith Kinder is going to be maybe wearing an orange and black undershirt under his Mishawaka polo on Friday, trying to hope that Warsaw gets a win so they can. So that way that Warsaw or Mishawaka can get back into that NLC race, because if Concord wins, obviously anything can happen still at the end. But if Concord wins, and they got Northwood next week, and then it's Goshen, Plymouth, and Wawasee, the 3 teams that are at the bottom of the conference left for them. So if Mishawaka wants any chance, it feels like, of getting back at least a share of the conference title, they need Warsaw to beat Concord, to give them a loss, and then Mishawaka plays Warsaw week 7. And Mishawaka could potentially beat Warsaw, and then be a 3-way tie between the 3 of them. Obviously, Northwood is live in next week. That got to get too far ahead, but those are the 3 games that really, really stick out to me. And also just for fun, we get the true South Bend round robin this year for the first time in a long time. It starts this week. Adams at St. Joe, Riley at Washington over at School Field. So they will play the South Bend schools will play each other this week, next week, and then week 8. So we will have a true South Bend city champion in football for the first time since the NIC was before the NIC went to 12 teams. So a decade. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
There should be a trophy for that.
There should be.
That would be a really fun kind of thing to have in addition to the season. I went to college in Philadelphia, and all the Philadelphia college basketball teams in the Big 5 play each other. There's kind of a Big 5 championship. It doesn't win you technically a tournament berth or anything, but it's just something fun to do.
Right.
I think that'd be really fun to have kind of the South Bend city champion for 2024.
That would be cool.
Also a sneaky game. Fairfield at West Noble. That's kind of a NECC big division game. That's kind of a sneaky one out there. That could be fun.
Okay.
And that's it. Looking at the schedule.
That's it. If your game wasn't mentioned, Austin doesn't like it. That's what he's trying to say.
Just catching my eye, looking at the game.
Well, while you're looking, I was going to add to the point of Marion at Penn. I did that story on running back Brian Osmond earlier last week, actually, and I don't know. I'm excited to see more of him because he had a good game last week, but he just, I don't know if you've ever watched him, but he's so tiny. He's 5'4", so 5'4", so it's funny to see him cut through the holes. And he even said he was I've been working on footwork and drills with one of his trainers back. I think his name's Bobo or something. And he just says
Bobo.
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 And how he's been learning, during the off season and now bringing it to this team in Marion, and he's hoping that he can go down as like one of the best running backs at Marion. So
it's a big.
I
mean, Xander Horvath Xander Horvath was pretty good.
Well,
I don't know if you heard of him.
He did bring up the bigger names at Marion, but he said, it's a big shoe to fill to become after them, but also it's like he can hope that he can put up the numbers.
Yeah, they're going to have to make a real run, I think, and Osmond's going to have to be a big part of that. If you want, I mean, I respect him wanting. I mean, you don't want your players to be like, I want to be an average player.
No, you want them
you should want them saying that. Like, I want to be Xander Horvath. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be that guy.
And from what I've seen from Penn, I mean, I've seen a couple games from them, but what still sticks out at me is that Valpo game, week 1. They were able to run on the Kingsmen. They were able to have some big chunk plays, 70-yard, 80-yard touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah, I think Marion will be live on Friday.
Yeah, that's an area.
Maybe 3 weeks ago it felt like Penn will win by 30. I don't know if it's going to be that now.
But if we want to talk about Osmond and having a big day and a reason, it's like I think Osmond is going to have a shot to break off a big play or two against this Penn defense.
Yeah, this will be an interesting test. It's not the best overall slate of the year, I would say, but there are some intriguing games where it could get intriguing. It can get intriguing.
Definitely an intriguing week we got here. And
how many times can we say intriguing?
Well, if it's a stride.
Yeah, if we really hit our stride, maybe we can get at least 3 or 4.
That was an intriguing stride. We just tried to
intriguing stride.
Word of the day is stride.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, Austin, I know you're kind of dialed into more things than just high school football.
Yes.
As a South Bend Tribune's prep sports reporter.
They pay me to do that.
That's your job.
Enlighten us.
And just what's some other storylines we should be taking a look at?
So the biggest result I would say of last week non-football was St. Joseph girls soccer over Mishawaka Marion in a top 5 showdown. They went to PKs. They won in PK. St. Joe girls are now number 1 in the 2A poll that just came out Monday morning. Marion number 2. So, and fun fact, they're in the same sectional this year now. So St. Joe was in 3A for a couple years. Now they're up to 2A, or back down to 2A, sorry. And so it's the same sectional. That's going to be fireworks. The blind draw gods, please give this in the final. Do not make that a first round game or a semifinal. I need that on Saturday night. That Saturday night, I think it's actually one of Notre Dame's bye weeks, so we can cover it. I'll be there anyway. But anyway,
besides the point.
Besides the point. But yeah, so that was the biggest result of the week. Other things that kind of caught my eye, I mean, Northwood Volleyball is making a nice surge. They're 13-2. Marion Volleyball had a really nice week. They beat St. Joe in 5 sets Thursday night, and then they had a really nice weekend at LaPorte Invitational. So they went from they were 5 and 6 to start the weekend, and now they're 10-7. So had a really nice couple days. Northwood again, their volleyball team is humming. They're playing really well. Mishawaka is still in that conversation as well. We talk about volleyball. Cross country, Liam Boschke, I mentioned him a couple weeks ago. He won the the Concord Invite. 15:19 was his time. 2 seconds off the course record at Oxbow Park. And if you know anything about Oxbow Park, that place hosts everything. They host a lot of cross country events. So for him to be within 2 seconds of his own record already that he has at the course, so that's really good. St. Joe and Penn tennis continue to be really good. They're in the top 15 still. I think they play Thursday night. St. Joe and Penn tennis play Thursday night. So check that out. Penn girls soccer, also Penn's good in everything. Penn girls soccer is leading the NIC after they beat St. Joe. St. Joe then beat Marion. So Penn and Marion girls soccer now play Tuesday night. Adams is also 3-1, still lurking in the conference as well for girls soccer. So keep an eye on them. But and girls golf. Girls golf sectionals begin this week. The girls golf sectionals are this week.
Crazy.
That is crazy. It's crazy sectionals. I mean, it's
so there's a handful of our area teams are playing Thursday down at Stonehenge in Warsaw, Winona Lake, technically, I think. But the core ones up here are all on Friday. They're all Friday morning. There's one that Northridge is hosting out at Meadow Valley in Middlebury. They are ranked number 7 in the state going into this. They are our highest ranked team in the state, they are a highest ranked area team in the state, that number 7 going into the state tournament week. They played last week. They played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. They won every day. 9-hole matches on Monday and Tuesday, an 18-hole match on Wednesday, an invite on Friday, and the NLC invite on Saturday. So they won 5. They won 5 out of 6 days. They won 5 events, which was incredible. And they're really good. This is the best Northridge ever. I mean, they went to state for the first time ever last year. So this is their their chance to maybe maybe finish top 5 at state, which has not happened. Northwood girls in 2021, 2020. No, sorry, 19. Sorry, Northwood girls had a really incredible run from like from 2010 to 2021. They were 5th in state in 19. This is the best chance the area I think has had of getting a team in the top 5 since then. Penn was close last year, and Penn's also ranked. I believe they were ranked 13th, and St. Joe was ranked 20th. Penn and St. Joe are in the same sectional. Out at Knollwood Friday morning, they're going to be in the same regional when they both advance out of this sectional. That goes to Sandy Pines. Northridge is separate from them, so Northridge would go to a different regional out in East Noble or Kendallville area. Yeah, girls golf playoffs are.
That's crazy.
It gets cold in October in Indiana, so they got to get the state tournament done before October.
It
basically
makes sense, but it's just, and I know. And I remember when we were talking about high school sports, like, wow, girls golf is already going on.
Yeah,
it makes sense, but it still just throws me off.
Yeah, so there is a decent chance. It's not a guarantee, but we could get 3 teams to the state finals from this area.
Wow.
In girls
crazy.
golf. I mean, those 3, Northridge, Penn, and St. Joe, can all get there for sure. If they all play their best, the regional is always tough. You bring in obviously more teams, the regional, but Northridge, St. Joe, and Penn should all be there in their respective regionals at a minimum and give themselves a chance to get down to Prairie View in Carmel and play for the state championship.
Wow.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
For everyone.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well,
I think
that's
everything.
I was gonna say,
I was trying to run through every sport.
Sounds like you're an expert or something.
He really is.
I'm also writing about girls golf. I'm doing a girls golf tournament preview story
So check that out.
coming out probably Wednesday at the South Bend Tribune.
How did your meet and greet go? Remember our last?
my Bremen meet and greet?
Yeah, how many heads do you get there?
Our
It
last
was.
episode we talked
I don't like to disclose that.
If you were there, you saw. I guess. If you're a real fan, you
Look,
saw.
I had to put my left elbow in an ice bucket.
Gotcha. Yeah,
It's just killer, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
The elbow, man. It's just hurting. From all that.
That's such a dad joke.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for 16 Sports Extra here, the podcast today. Austin Hough, you can find his work in the South Bend Tribune. And then for Sabrina and I, obviously on WNDU,
Yes.
WNDU.com. Well, thanks so much for watching, everybody.